members, I'll go ahead and then introduce the presenter of the report. He is in the person of Mr. Kweku Dankwa. Mr. Kweku Dankwa is the acting head, Accra section of the research department. He holds MPhil in educational administration, PGD in education, and BA Arts, all from the University of Cape Coast. He holds a postgraduate in data science and business analytics from Macomb School of Business, University of Texas in Austin. Mr. Kweku Dankwa has worked with the research department of WAEC for over a decade, and he has contributed significantly to the completion of several projects. He has attended international conferences on educational assessment and made a number of presentations in those conferences. Currently, as I indicated earlier on, he is the acting head, Accra section of the research department of WAEC at the headquarters. With the rounds of applause, let's welcome the presenter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Registrar, thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to begin by acknowledging the Registrar to Council. He has actually supported our research work at RD. Then the research department of WAEC has its head in Lagos. And our head research has connected with us from Lagos, and we also have our staff in other WAEC member countries. Yeah, we also want to appreciate the HNO that he has also helped us anytime we need data for our work. We follow the Accra office and they give us every data that we need. So we appreciate the HNO of the WAEC Ghana office. We thank our institutions that help us in going through this particular study. This is a study that we contacted a lot of institutions within the education space, NACA, the teacher associations, Baraka, and then Christian Council, and a whole lot of institutions that we collected data from. We also thank our WAEC staff in the headquarters and also the national office who have also joined us. Our brother, me, from the post-exam department. This particular issue of malpractice, it is their department that they deal mostly with. So we are glad also to have him here to help in this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a research that we conducted. And like I said earlier, that is what we do at the research department. I also want to appreciate my team, the entire research department, and also the Accra session team that helped conducting this study. Yeah, we you have moved it from there. Okay. The quotes. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I begin my presentation with these quotes. And it's from one academician called A.I. Obin. He said, in this 21st century, destroying any nation is very simple. It does not require the use of atomic bomb or missile. It only requires lowering the quality of education and erasing moral consciousness by encouraging examination malpractice, propagated by students, teachers, supervisors, schools, and also examination officials. Yeah, so it means that all of us within the education space, we can contribute in examination malpractice. And as we continue to do that, then we erode the quality of our education, we erode moral consciousness, and then we destroy our nation eventually. So it will not require an atomic bomb. But this particular menace of examination malpractice, we have to make efforts to deal with it. This particular seminar is coming at the right time, as the chairman said, because for Ghana, we are about to roll out our examination. Next month, we have BC, and then in August, WAEC will also continue. So we want to bring this particular findings of our research to the public so that we all deliberate upon it and then find a way to chart a new path so that we will be able to control what is happening in our examinations. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we all agree that examination play a pivotal role in all levels of education. It's a yardstick that we use to see the intellectual and skill development of our children if they go through a course of study. For instance, the WAEC for a 3-year program. If it's through examination, that we will be able to know the competencies that they've acquired and then the knowledge and skills that they've acquired. So it is a way that we measure our curriculum as we put out by the curriculum developers. So they bring it, the schools through the teachers do the implementation, then the examination body like WAEC also come in to assess. And at the end of the day, if the certificate is issued, we use it as a tool for selection. That will help the candidate to progress to the next level. It also help us to see the level of our curriculum that we have attained. Every curriculum set a target for itself, and then through the examination, we'll be able to show whether we have been able to achieve what we expect our children to know or not. By all days, examination is supposed to be valid and reliable. And for it to be valid and reliable, then it means that we have to make sure that it is devoid of any form of malpractice. That is why when we are taking a test or examination, we cannot leave it just like that. We put in measures and interventions to make sure that the entire examination integrity is safeguarded. Yeah. So the goals of every nation can never be achieved if education or examination rules are not strictly adhered to. So despite the emphasis on all these interventions and rules and regulations, this particular menace of examination malpractice continue to persist. So in order to deal with the situation, examination bodies like WAEC have measures in place to make sure that they deal with this examination fraud. That is how some academia term it. Some scholars term it as a crime, a fraud. It's morally wrong and then unacceptable. Yeah, for nations known for rampant examination malpractice, have their education institutions receiving little or no international recognition and support. We don't want a situation where our country will go to that extent. Okay, so on this particular, we are looking at some form of malpractice that are prevalent in our examinations. Yeah, so the candidate involved was 1.7%. It rose to 2.37%, and it went as high as 10% last year. So these are the percentage of candidates involved in the examination of practice. And this is a worrying situation that call for a review of our intervention and see how best we can improve our situation to reduce it. But the rate at which it is increasing is very exponential. Go from 2.3 to 7, and then to 10% last year. And if you look at the percentages, you might think it's not much, but if you look at the nominal figures, you see for 2021, we have 441,000 candidates taking the exam. And out of that, 10,386 involved themselves in malpractice. It increased in 2022 from 10,000 to 29,291, and that is almost 3 times the number that were involved. So we could see that if you look at the graph, you see how it is rising. Yeah, so that is the situation in Ghana, the rate at which candidates are involving themselves in malpractice. Then for 2023, we moved from 29,000 to 44,586. Yes, so this is a report from the Ghana office, from the DEC report. So the rate at which malpractice cases are going up is very, very alarming. That is why we are doing this engagement. There are stakeholders. We have to do something about it. We cannot allow it to go on like that and then derail every gain that we have made within the educational system. Yeah, so these are the specific forms, and also within the Ghana situation too, the same collision that was detected in script has the highest among all the forms, and then bringing in foreign material and then the mobile phones. Those are the forms that are actually leading. That, as we saw, the West African data, it reflects the Ghana data. Yeah, this is another information that we reviewed by the help of the Ghana office of the GEC report. This is the regional breakdown. That is, we are trying to look at the regions that the malpractice are very prevalent. And you will see that the regions that form of the 10 original regions that we have, new ones were created into 16 regions. Yeah, so it's an apple together in terms of the prevalence of the examination of practice, and that is followed by Ashanti East. But I could see that in the other regions too, it is happening. But the prevalent region, what we are showing now, Bono East, Afro, Ashanti, and then the East. Yeah. So as we try to implement or improve the way we are dealing with it in all the regions, then we can take steps, then improve the measures in the regions to that are very, very high. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we all agree that the examination malpractice has a lot of effect, and it is something that kills the spirit of hard work. Because if people are working hard successfully in the exam, then others too are cheating. Definitely, it will not help those who are working hard to continue to work hard. Because as much as that they do, others too are getting it on a silver platter. And those of us within the space in leadership, others, vigilators, supervisors, school authorities, examination body officials. If we continue to help us to cheat, then definitely those who are trying to work hard will not be able to do so. And then they also have the low productivity issues, because you will get people who are holding certificates, but they are not competent enough. Now these days, you can see people having certificates that they cannot defend. They have a good grade, they have AAA, but they cannot use it anywhere because they are even afraid to go into tertiary. But definitely, when you go, you'll be admitted, but definitely you'll be found out. So it is during the purpose of examination. Because as you saw earlier, examination is supposed to assess the quality and the ability of students after going through a course. So if the examination body has awarded you a certificate that does not reflect your ability, that you cannot defend anywhere, then it makes the examination invalid. Yeah, so these are some of the effects that examination malpractice.
Yeah, Mr. Tom, send me your email address. We need your
to address some of these incidents, WAEC, through its laws, have some punitive measures to offenders. Through the WAEC Act, section 1 to 13 has provided some measures that if candidates are caught, they should be punished. Yeah, they should be punished. And this involves probably cancellation of a subject's results or even your entire results, depending on the type of malpractice that you involve yourself in. So we have a whole lot of measures put in place to address this. That is, we have the pre, during, and post-examination interventions. Yeah, so if you look at the pre-intervention, these are some of the measures that WAEC has put in place. WAEC do sensitization every year for supervisors, for invigilated, for candidates, and all those involved in the process. They also go through a rigorous process to appoint supervisors and invigilators so that they'll be able to do the work as they are expected to do. So all these briefings are done before the examination starts. So as we are preparing for this exam, all these processes are going on. That's why I put them in place. They go through the pain to do all this to make sure that the integrity of the examination is upheld. That is why WAEC continue to do this.
Can you take out the others? Okay, so you take it out and give it to me, then you can go and set up the new one.
And then during the examination too, these are some of the measures that goes on. The keys to security bags are kept with the depot keeper and then also the heads of the institution, the supervisors. So the idea is that those in transit taking the questions from the depot to the center, they are not supposed to handle the keys so that they will not tamper with the security materials. Yeah, so WAEC is doing all this, but we know that WAEC is not everywhere. WAEC officers can oversee all these things in totality, but while the papers are in transit, a lot of things can happen that will not protect the integrity of the examination. Yeah, so identification of candidates during the examination biometrically is another thing that WAEC has instituted, so that it will check this issue of impersonation of candidates, people who are writing the examination for others, candidates using their index numbers, and then school complying with the sitting arrangements. There is also the use of metal detectors to detect electronic devices that students are trying to send into the examination hall. Yeah, so these are all some of the things that were done during the examination to prevent examination practice. Yes, and then the post-interventions do include the following: that if the recognizing schools involved in examination malpractice, then that is if a center is found of involving itself in examination malpractice, those centers will not be allowed to continue to write examination there. They will be taken to another center so that they will not continue to commit that crime. Cancellation of candidate results, and then barring of candidates, especially when it is impersonation. By the law, candidates will be barred for 2 years. They will not take any WAEC exam. And then when the case involves the supervisor, the invigilator, that one, because they are from Ghana Education Service, the best that WAEC could do, you should report them to the Ministry of DES so that they go through their disciplinary action to deal with that teachers. But WAEC has the power to blacklist supervisors and invigilators and even examiners who involve themselves in such malpractice by helping students to cheat during the examination. So these are some of the post interventions. Yeah, so what brought out this particular study? Yeah, so we say that all these interventions has been in place, but despite WAEC making all these efforts with these stakeholders to deal with the issue, the menace continue to thrive. Yeah, so we looked at a situation where we go beyond the internal stakeholders, that is those that WAEC has engaged to work during the examinations, the supervisors, the invigilators, then also bring in people who are also concerned about education, like the universities. The universities, they are going to admit the product of the WAEC graduates. So we also bring them in so that they also share their views about the examination or practice. So this particular study, it did not only involve the supervisors, the regulators, and the schools, the candidates, but we also brought in what we refer to as external stakeholders, like the universities, the teacher unions, and then even DJA were also contacted, the religious bodies, Christian Council, Baraka, and a whole lot of institutions, because this is a problem for everybody. It is not only WAEC. So we contacted all of them to help us deal with this issue, so that collectively, as a country, we'll be able to deal. So looking into the literature, you see that a study that is trying to look into how the examinations are being implemented were not found mostly in literature. So that created a gap for this particular study, because there are other studies that people have conducted about examination malpractice, usually about the forms of examination, the effects, and so on and so forth. But how these interventions are being implemented, we did not see much of such study. That is why it created a space for this study to be done. So that is the problem. The problem is that, yes, there is examination malpractice. WAEC has put measures to deal with them. How are these measures doing? How effective are they? How are they being implemented? And then whether even stakeholders are aware that WAEC is putting all these efforts. That is what brought about this study. Yeah, so it was gathered by these research questions. That is the extent to which our stakeholders are aware of the WAEC interventions, and then the extent that they are being implemented, and then what the factors militating against the measures, and whether they are really effective to deal with the issue. Then at the last research question, we were trying to find out from the stakeholders, what can we do again? If you're having all these measures, all these interventions, the malpractice is still persistent, what can they also suggest again to deal with the problem? That is the research question 5. Okay, so for methodology, we use a MACE method. Yeah, MACE method in a sense that we needed 2 types of data. We want both quantitative data and qualitative data. So this concurrent MACE method is a type that involving and collecting data and analyzing these 2 different forms of data, and then later put them together so that they complement each other. Because mostly, as you can see in this particular study, you will see that when you give people questionnaire, that at the end of the day will generate a quantitative data. Because questionnaire are mostly perception, they might express themselves in a way who might not be what is actually happening on the ground. But going to them one-on-one for qualitative data through methods like interview, observations, you get an additional information that will complement what you will get using the questionnaire. That is why we use the MACE method. And all these groups of people constituted our population. Like I said earlier, mostly you say it is a malpractice. You go to the centers, the supervisor is there, the invigilator is there, the candidates are there. These are the people directly involved. But we see this problem as not a problem for the schools alone or WAEC alone. So all other stakeholders, even including the religious bodies, the teacher unions, they should all come in to help WAEC to deal with this issue. That is why we collected qualitative information from them also. Yeah, so for sampling, our sampling went through a lot of stages, but mainly, like I said, because we are doing 2, we needed 2 different types of data. You know, every data demands a kind of sampling method that we use. Yeah, so we did a multi-stage, and at the same time, some people were purposely sampled. Because even if you are talking of GES, and you want people who can respond to examination issues, you cannot leave the GES man at the examination level. But they are on the ground, they are seeing it all. So for GES, that are the group that we targeted. Those who are manning the depots and going to the centers to see what is happening. And also for I2, the depot keepers. Then for external stakeholders to, as we've listed them in the population. So, you know, after going through our sampling procedure, we had over 3,000 candidates involved in this study. We have 530 invigilators, and then as is listed on the slide.
I see.
Yeah, for the questionnaire, you know, you cannot just take a questionnaire to the field. You have to subject it to some analysis to make sure that it has the necessary psychometric properties. So we use Chromat Alpha to determine the internal consistency of the instrument. And we see responded to the questionnaire. They had an alpha value of 0.8 up to 0.95. And if you look into literature, to test reliability of an instrument, the rule of thumb is if you can have 0.7 and above, that will show that the instrument has a good internal consistency. That can bring out the results that you are expecting. For we gave it to some experts. For WAEC research, we have different layers of critique. When we critique it our level, what we call the DPCC, take it to the subcommittee, where we bring in academia and other academic experts to look at our instruments and our research for us. So they also did that for us to ensure content validity of the instrument. Yeah, so after collecting the data, we had a very high retrieval rate from most of our respondents that answered the questionnaire. You can see the percentages. So we retrieve as high as, for instance, the supervisors, 79.7% of them responded to our questionnaire. And for the external stakeholders, because for them, we did interview with them, we were able to get everything that we expected from them. That's why we are 10 minutes ahead of us. They did not answer the questionnaire because for them, their number is not so great. They were interviewed in a focus group discussion to get some qualitative information from them. Okay, so for the data analysis, the quantitative information that we got, we use discrete statistics to analyze them. Whereas for the open-ended responses and then the interview response and observation, we use the thematic approach to deal with our responses. Yeah, so for instance, question 1, as you were trying to see in the first place, whether these stakeholders are aware that WAEC, the intervention that WAEC are putting in place to deal with malpractice, whether they have something like that. And truly, whether the pre-intervention, they all agree with us that yes, they know that WAEC has a lot of measures in place to make sure that the examination is safeguarded. That is all that they do during the exam, post-exam, what they do with the examiners, the strict checkers, and everything to make sure that none of the stages of the examination is compromised. So they agree that yes, they are aware that WAEC is doing all that. But apart from the questionnaire, we also did the interviews, as I said. So the external stakeholders, yes, for them, they are not the direct people WAEC engaged in conduct exam. So they were not even aware of what we call the metal detector. Yes, because for them, they are not on the ground. So that is what came about the metal detector that they use to detect the mobile phone and other electronic devices, so that they don't find their way in the examination hall. They stated that they are not aware that WAEC has such a facility to deal with the situation. Yeah, so it signifies that people are informed to deal with this issue. Yeah, so as you can see, it was even found in literature that communicating with your stakeholders for them to abreast with what you are doing is a very positive thing. Yeah, so if stakeholders are aware that WAEC is doing all these things, then the question that we ask is, why is it that for the data that we show, malpractice is still on ascendancy? Okay, so these are some of the interventions that WAEC is doing. That is the pre-interventions. So if you look at the A, that is indicating those who indicate that they are aware, and then the NA are those who are not aware. So if we see that for the A that we have highlighted, all the percentages are very high. So respondents are very much aware that WAEC sensitize supervisors the synthesized schools, and all the people that they engage in conducting the exam. Okay. Yeah, the same thing applies to the interventions that happen during the examination. Yeah, we all rated it so high. Very good. Okay, so the recent question was about the implementation. The implementation. Yeah, so the implementation also, on the face of it, the stakeholders have seen that WAEC is implementing all the interventions that we've listed. But like I said, this particular study, you also needed qualitative information. So it is not just the questionnaire that they responded to, because that one is the opinion that they are sharing. They can take something that might not be real on the ground. So we also have our officers observing during the examination. This particular data was collected last year when they were writing the WAEC. So we went to some of the centers to see what was happening, whether truly supervisors and vigilators are using what they are supposed to use, or they are doing what they are supposed to do in implementing the WAEC interventions. So the field observation, we observed that.
And that person you questions about.
Yeah, we observed that some of the things were not done. Yeah, for instance, candidates were not searched as they were supposed to be searched before they enter the examination hall. And when you try to find out, the officers on the ground will give all kinds of excuses. Sometimes they look at the student numbers. They are supposed to start the paper at maybe an afternoon paper. And before they will take them all through the process, it will take a while, so they will not do it as thoroughly as it is expected. And then the rule says that even when a candidate has permission and wants to go to the washroom, it should be accompanied, but you don't see them do that. And even in some situations, they go there in groups just to communicate among themselves there before they come back. Yeah, so what we observed in most cases were not as they said on the questionnaire. Yeah, and also for the use of the metal detectors to detect electronic devices. Yeah, most of the centers that we visited, we sampled over 50 senior high schools that we visited. We see that they were not using the metal detectors. And then when you try to find out from them, it's either it's broken, it's not functioning, or because of time they were not using them. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we observe. Yeah, so for the implementation of the free interventions, you see that if you look at the bar chart, these are responses from the questionnaire, and they rated it so high. Yeah, saying that the WAEC actually do all these things. They are implementing them. Yeah, this is also during the intervention. Yeah, when we get to research question 3, yeah, we are trying to see whether those interventions were effective or not. Okay. And the majority of the stakeholders, these are people working on the exam. Yes, they believe that the interventions are effective. And like I said, these are responses from questionnaire. So sometimes they might not give the true picture of what is actually happening. Yeah, so this is the intervention that we mentioned earlier. Okay. Yeah. So for research question 4, this particular one is information from stakeholders, both those involved directly in the exam and the external ones. And this one was qualitative information. This one is information from open-ended items, and then interview, and then observations. Yeah, so these are what actually information that we got from them that we can say that truly these are some of the things that are happening on the ground. Yeah, so for some of the reasons they told us that for the metal detectors, they are inadequate. Yes, they don't have them. That is why sometimes students can enter with a mobile phone without they knowing. Then ineffective supervision and non-adherence of the examination rules and regulations. Yes, we have the supervisors and invigilators who have agreed to do the work for us on the grounds, and we realize that they are not doing what they are supposed to do. And you know that the limited number of WAEC officers at the centers throughout. So we believe that those who have engaged will help us deal with the issues. But most of them tend to be ineffective on the ground. And the inadequate infrastructure to accommodate the growing number of students or candidates. You see, these are issues, as you see in the research question, that militate against implementation. Yeah, you go to some schools and the student numbers are so large and they are using so many rooms. You will not find them in a particular hall where you can give proper supervision to them. So many of them. So when it happens like that, the inspector or the supervisor will have a lot of work. If you don't have invigilators who are that cooperative, the work will not be done. The kind of invigilators that instead of them to be on the candidates in the room and see what is happening, you see them standing on the door, looking whether some WAEC official is coming. If you have that type of invigilators, then definitely with so many rooms, you cannot achieve much. Then the more practice go on. Yeah, others also raised the issue of performance contracts between the ministry and GES. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, maybe you are here, you will help us understand that thing very well. Yeah, it's something that we found when we were collecting this data on the field. Yes, and that is something that others believe that is what was coming from our respondents. We are reporters, we are researchers, and we have to report everything as they said. So if the ministry or the GE is expecting them to attain a particular percentage or number of candidates that they present, that maybe for the A1 to C6, the credit path that can help the candidate to progress to tertiary, maybe a number of candidates that start examination is expected to get that grade, then it means that most school authorities are in a hurry to achieve that requirement that the ministry expects or GES expects. And if their standard is not up to it, definitely they resort to other means to achieve that. So that is why that particular point came about. And then political interference. The others would have believed that politics are also involved in the examination. Some of the examination, you will see them not achieving what they are expecting. They can even ask that you are transferred or you do the place. So it is something to that stakeholders believe that it is not fighting the malpractice in our examinations. So as much as possible, they want the schools to allow the teachers, the school authorities, and the candidates to do, so that they'll be able to put that confidence in the candidates that to believe in themselves that they can do the examination without. Then the ranking also, the ranking and the categorization of schools. Yes, yes, we are aware that we rank schools. We have categorized secondary schools, at least for the selection of the BEC into the senior high schools. We have category A schools, B schools, C schools, and the rest. And some of these schools down there, they also want to come up and be with the category A schools. So how would they get that recognition? Unless they also perform. And in the way of trying to perform and catch up, then they resort to all kinds of things. So that is also not helpful. Even within the categorization, it is not just the national level where we are trying to use it for selection into senior high schools, at least for the BEC candidates. Yeah, even within the district and the region, they are also doing their own ranking. That at the end of the examination, they want to see that the school that came top in a particular district. So there is that competition, unnecessary competition, that is also fueling this problem of examination malpractice. Yeah, so if all of us as stakeholders can look at that issue again, I believe it will help, so that we see education as having an overall goal of developing our talent for the future, our human resource, and not just going through school because of certificates and competing unnecessarily to achieve or get that certificate at all costs. Like I said earlier, even after getting it, sometimes you cannot even defend it. Yeah, so these are quotes from respondents that we use to support some of the points that I've just made. Yeah, so like the performance-based contract that I said, this is a response that one respondent gave us. A performance-based contract signed between SOS, senior high school headmasters, government, have compelled most of the schools to adopt examination malpractice strategies. Yeah, then both supervisors and invigilators were reluctant to implement examination rules and regulations. Yeah, invigilators looked on while students enter the classroom with foreign materials. Yeah, so these are quotes that were taken direct from respondents. Yeah, so if you have this kind of invigilators, then definitely you know that at the end of the day, you know achieve your purpose of safeguarding the integrity of the test or the examination. Definitely, people are going to have their own way to do whatever they like. Well, so we also try to find out from our respondents what other measures do they think we should put in place. I mean, WAEC is doing its best. We have people work day and night, strapping questions, putting them in security bag, doing all sort of things. But still, this malpractice is persistent. So what other means can we deal with the issue? So these are all the suggestions that our respondents suggested to us. Probably we could put some of these measures in place to be able to deal with the issue. Yeah, they raised the issue of prompt payment of supervisors and vigilators, and if possible, even increase what they are being paid now. Yeah, so according to them, after working as an invigilator or supervisor, sometimes it takes a while before they are paid, and that is also not motivating enough. At least if the person has work, he needs his money, and he's not being paid. So sometimes it's also for the malpractice, because some students are prepared to give them money so that they allow them to cheat. So they suggested that. And then serialization of examination question papers or giving para forms of the test. to candidates. Yes, I think on that score, WAEC has started doing something like that. So that even within a region or within a district, by the end of the day, the items are developed, their properties has been found to be the standard of the senior high school candidates. So if you have so many of the questions, then you can give different ones to different schools or different ones to different regions or whichever way that you want to make it. So that it's not like the whole place, the whole nation, you are writing the same item word for word. But they are parallel, they have the same standard. They have the same difficulty level that we expect, the discrimination index that we expect. They have all the properties that the examination body will put in place during the item development. But at the end of the day, you will not give the same school, the same district, the same region, the same item. So that is also our respondents suggested. And I believe this is something that is noted our WAEC that I think something is already good. And then schools that they don't have the metal detectors, we make provision for them. Others too are suggesting that why don't you go computer-based? So the examination will move from paper-based test to computer-based examination. So in that situation, nobody is transporting any question anywhere. Where somebody on the way will open the paper and take picture of it and put on the internet. Yeah, so within the computer-based test, at the time that the examination is about to take, we transport electronically the item to the centers so that students are already seated and then they answer their question. There are different forms of it. You can just give them item and still give them booklet to answer on it. You can also let them answer on the computer. So there are different forms of the computer-based testing that going forward, especially in this time of digitalization, the examination should also go digital so that it will help cut off the human interface that are always perpetuating this malpractice. And then we will be able to deal with the situation at least to some extent. Yeah, so these are some of the suggestions that our respondents are making. And the use of CCTV at the centers. Yeah, that is a big one because we also know how the cost involved. Yeah, so if, like I said, you have a particular center, they are using about 25 rooms in taking the test. So how do you set the CCTV? It's not that they have just a big hall that all of them are there. It means that you have to get camera for every room. And you can imagine if you are having about 800 centers in the whole Ghana, the number of CCTV that will be required. So the cost implication. But yes, it's a suggestion from respondents, so we have reported it. Then the regular visit to examination centers, yes. Yeah, so having WAEC officers all over, that is also another big one, because it also come back to staff strength and all that. The last point about supervisors not working in their own schools. Their own schools is another thing that was suggested. And on that particular score, maybe during the discussion, our colleagues will help us deal with some of this. Because I remember in 2014, I did something like that. I went to Depot at Gota region. I was in charge of Kweje area. And I remember the supervisor there was coming from Mauli. You move from Mauli secondary school and come to Kweje to supervise the exam. But I observed that it happened for that year and they didn't continue. Yeah, so respondents are suggesting the rotation of supervisors. That is your school. You are a headmaster there. Why are you supervising your own students? You take it to a different place. Yeah, so these are some of the quotes that support the points that I just made. Yeah, so in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this particular issue of examination malpractice, it is something that is for all of us. We shouldn't look at it as if it is a WAEC thing. But at the end of the day, it will destroy our entire education system. So as stakeholders, we should all come together and deal with it. Because despite the fact that stakeholders are aware that WAEC is making efforts, a lot of things have been implemented to deal with the issue. What we observe on the field brings out a lot of operational gaps in the execution of the interventions. Like they cited the issue of the metal detectors. Some of the schools, they have them, but they will not even use them. Yes, because they believe it will take a whole lot of time before you can let the student get inside. Yeah, so it warrants that we do a lot. We do a lot so that we'll be able to deal with the issue. Yeah, so these are some of the issues that, based on the findings, we are recommending that looking into the future with a computer-based exam, and then also the issue of sensitization. The issue of sensitization should also not be limited. It's not WAEC alone that should do that. The media should help us to tell the public about the dangers of this malpractice. The religious organizations should help us. And the sensitization should also be community-based. Yes, it shouldn't be that we are sensitizing candidates who are going to write the exam. Right from all levels of education, we should let our students know that examination malpractice is not a good thing. It's not something that will help our country to develop. That a quote that we begin with: if you want to destroy a nation, you don't need an atomic bomb. If you compromise on the quality of education, definitely you have started destroying your country. So we sensitize right from the basic level and then through to the tertiary level to deal with this issue of examination malpractice. The serialization, the swapping of supervisors, and then the ministry should, yes, so that we allow schools to operate at their level and not force themselves because they want to achieve a particular target that their strength cannot carry them. Then they resort to all kinds of things because they want to acquire a certain level of percentage passes. Yes, so that it will help control the examination malpractice as it is happening now. Because for 10% of last year candidates to involve themselves is a very huge percentage. In nominal terms, that it is not good enough for our country. Okay, so for limitation of the study, well, we visiting some of the centers will also create a situation where it might not be a kind of a natural environment for them. So it might affect the way they behave, what we see in a way. Yeah, because if nobody is there, they know how to operate. But if your presence is there, sometimes they adjust themselves in a way. Yeah, so that's why we are saying that the presence of field observers might have also influenced stakeholders some of the responses that we give. All in all, we showed that what they actually told us is what we have reported to you. Yeah, so going forward, we believe that such studies should be done continuously so that we know what is happening on the ground as far as the implementation of our interventions the examinations are concerned. Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think I'll end here. As you think.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for that great presentation. For those of us who might not be aware of what the program really looks like, it has been labeled in front of all of us. The study has actually delved into the manners of examination malpractice. Significant stakeholders have been identified. Possible causes, as well as potential causes, have also been identified. And then suggestions have been made together with so many other interesting revelations, and then attributing it to so many other interesting factors. So members, I would like to, on behalf of the whole group, thank the presenter very much for that great presentation. He says so much within a very short period of time. He was able to touch on all the expected aspects of the problem. So at this point, the floor is open for members to ask questions or make contributions based upon the presentation.
So, Mr. Chairman, with your permission,
okay,
we will take 5 questions from here, and then we'll move to the next conference room, 5 questions, and those online we take 5. If you want to make a contribution or ask a question, you just alert us by raising your hand, clicking on the raise your hand button, and then we will call you to give us your contribution or your question. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll take one question from Mr. P.C. Amwa.
Yes.
Who's the head of finance?
Okay.
WAEC headquarters.
Okay.
Yes. In the recommendation, one of the recommendations was that supervisors should be swapped during major papers. I remember some years back, 2015, 2016, supervisors were being swapped. And I think it didn't work, and we reverted to using the supervisors from the school. So I wanted to find out why should we now bring swapping supervisors again, since we tried and it did not work.
Okay. Well, maybe before my colleague will come in, I want to say that this is a response from a research. And those that we collected the data from, they are not WAEC staff alone. Yeah, so it's a suggestion that came from other respondents. And maybe they were not privy to the issues that WAEC encountered in putting that measure in place. Yeah, you see that I even made mention of it, that in 2014, when I went to go there with the people, the supervisor came in from my center was coming from home, while the supervisor in Project 2 were going to a different place. Yes, WAEC making all effort to control this malpractice has done that before. Like he also said, we did it for a year or two and couldn't continue. Yeah. Maybe our brother from post exam would like to add a word about it.
Okay, thank you very much, presenter. I think it worked. I think it more has to do with cost implications, because as you said, among other things, if you're moving either a supervisor from one point to the other, among other things, you may have to take care of the person's transportation and sometimes even the person's accommodation. And I think this brings extra cost implications to the conduct of the exam. So as a strategy, I think it's a good one. I think what prevented the strategy from subsequent implementation had to do with the cost implication. So I think we may have to look at that and see how we can factor that into the conduct of the examination. It's a good strategy, if you ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question or contribution? We made for the room 5, so we 1 down, 4 to go. Yes.
Thank you very much. I want to contribute to what they said. That those of us in senior high schools realize that.
Please, if you tell us where you are coming from.
Realize that students come and look at the grades they brought in, their performance, they'll give it out. So there have been rumors speculating. But listening to this presentation, I realized that there's an iota of truth in what you have been hearing. Sometimes you ask the student, how did you come in? How do you manage to come in here? They will tell you categorically, you were taught. And the regions that you mentioned, some of the schools that we held in the rumor, that these days, even some parents in Accra allow their children to go to the hinterland, go and write their BSc, so that they can get good grades to enter the so-called grading schools. So I am saying something to contribute to add to what you have just said. That it is going on. And we are even as a society trying to normalize it. That my word must by all means pass. But my philosophy is that those who prepare must pass. Those who don't prepare must fail. But people don't prepare, and as a society we are trying to find dubious means of helping the children to pass. So the issue must be tackled from the BEC, the basic school. Right from the beginning, the children are exposed to this cancer that you can cheat to pass, and it runs through all the levels to university. And as we're saying, if you don't curb it, students will start from there, and then they will cheat to the university level, come back, and the problem will come back to meet the society. Imagine a doctor cheating in all the exams to go there, and then you go to the University of Ghana, medical school, and you get good grade. You posted to the hospital, and then you go there, and the person will prescribe a bad medicine, and that you die. So I think we need to tackle it from that level. When you do that, I think it will help. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think it's a great contribution, but unlike your submission, we will take it as one of the assumptions. Okay, the paper we had a look at is based on a study. Okay, so we might not be able to conclude that that is the case. Okay, maybe what I would like to quickly add from where I sit is the fact that we have 2 types of children. We have those who are talented and those who are gifted. Okay, the gifted ones are usually good academically. The talented ones are usually those who have some skill. So going forward, we shouldn't lay emphasis that even if you are talented, you must get a certain grade. Okay, we should have a system that should be able to categorize them. And I believe that is the more reason why the ministry has made TVET a service to give those with the talent a career pathway, and those who can continue with, the grammar school to that particular level. Okay, and so we are going to, with all due respect, limit the contribution to the WAEC and how we will be able to resolve. If there's a need for us to maybe look at another dimension, then we will be able to do that. Thank you. So yes.
Accra West Girls.
Okay.
Just to add to what my boss just said, if we are not going to the BEC and we are limiting to the WASC, I'm just giving you one example that I personally observed somebody who completed SHS from maybe for security reasons. I don't want to talk about the reason. The father wanted him to do medicine. He got admission to Labour, but when the time comes, the student himself knows that he was not the one who wrote the exams. But I'm telling you the truth, the guy ran to bush. The father wanted him to do medicine, but because he knows that he did not get that grade, he ran to the bush. They called other people, to advise the child. Please, you want to do medicine, you have gotten the grade. It was very good grade. But the child came. Later, then the child came and informed all those who advised that, but the exams, I was not the one.
It was a teacher-made test.
So, see, if all these things are not kept, as we have just said, even the child himself will know even not to get you, because that's for the university. If you want to do medicine, the system itself will take you out, because when you get there, but it is very difficult to be cheating at the university level. Seriously, if you are doing medicine, the system itself
It's not medicine alone.
you can't. You see,
That's
we should try to curb it at the SHS level so that as a country we can move ahead. That is my contribution to.
Thank you very much. It's a great contribution. Okay, so still in the room we have two more.
Maybe Mr. Chairman, those of us, those there are more.
Okay.
So having 3 here, then we can
it's fine.
Give them the chance.
Okay.
All right. So those gathered at the other conference room, you can kindly walk forward to ask your question or make your contribution. Thank you very much.
Yes, now. Hello, my name is Michael Akatu. I want to appreciate the discussant on the research. I'm a bit curious. A global presentation of suggestions were made, and I would like the discussant to, if he has the data, a breakdown of the suggestion as to which category of respondents made a particular suggestion. Why do I say so? For instance, the use of CBT. I don't think for most of our candidates who are not exposed to the use of computers will be suggesting that we should move from paper administration to CBT. And also the use of CCTV, what we call it, system. This candidate want to cheat. I cannot imagine that most of them will want to suggest.
I thought they were using mine.
They can come here.
Come with him, but the answer if you have that
Yes, audit on the videos, yes.
not clear.
It's not clear. Okay. So what he is asking is first and foremost about, since one major finding which we came about was they indicating as we go CBT, that's computer-based testing. So he wants to know the number that constituted that group that kind of suggested that we should go computer-based test. And also, secondly, he's making a point of since we did use questionnaires, there was some missing response or data. How did we treat that as well? So he's kind of going a bit technical. So we would wait for the other responses, and then collectively we can address it as a whole. Thank you very much. So we are waiting for the other responses so that we can collectively address it.
Sorry. You can come in.
Oh, it should come here. Okay. All right. Okay, let me start.
Okay. Anyway. Wisdom, wait to me. I'm try the same thing. I'm don't send him email. Now this probably not sure. All right, thank you.
He was asking the technical question.
You can just stand there.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman and Honorable members.
Sit down and relax.
Come.
Sit down.
Okay. So please, I have both a contribution and a question. I would like to start with a contribution. My contribution to this is that I believe that it's not the mobile phone. The mobile phone itself also poses a major threat. It's the internet. And it's the internet that it's the mobile phone that gives people access to the internet. So if WAEC is able to work with the internet service providers to restrict access to internet around and in the schools or exam centers for that limited period of time, we could help curb that problem of malpractice that is when relating to mobile phones. Yes, so that is my suggestion. And the question is, I want to ask to what extent does WAEC consider similarities in our exam responses as collision? And that's why I also consider that some of them could be coincidences. Thank you.
Coincidences. Yeah, coincidences. Yeah. Okay.
Please show us. Yeah. And the next person, please.
Yeah, the other person, please. It's not writing. It's not writing.
My name is Mr. Julius, a student of West Africa Seminary School. And my question is being the intervention by politicians. So in the previous presentation, you made mention of politicians participating in examination of practices, where they ask WAEC to transfer supervisors and supervisors. So I want to know why it is allowed, or why do WAEC give that kind of attention to those politicians if they could easily ignore them and then scrutinize or publicly bring them out to the society so that we know that these politicians intervene in malpractices or they lead to malpractices in the school. And then my other question is based on the use of metal detectors. I strongly believe that if these efforts are made to provide the schools with metal detectors, I believe it is going to help because most students normally send mobile phones to the examination hall without the consent of or without anyone knowing about it. And I believe if you are able to push this, you can be able to have examination malpractice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next person, please.
Good morning.
My name is Osman Mali Lukman. I'm from West Africa Senior High School. And please, my question I brought is, some students in my school left the school to register in private schools. And with what I heard was that more practices in private schools are not being recognized. So because of that, they will leave the school and go there. But that is not really my concern. Some of these people still come back to the school to cause, let's say, distractions. So my question is, how is WAEC working on these things? Because you will be in the same school till you get to the final year. Then you try to leave the school to a private school for more practices. I don't know some of them their motives, but this is what I heard from some people. So my question is, how is WAEC working towards this? And my contribution is about the CCTV. I'm really happy when I saw that. I think it will help. Because with the CCTV, I think they can leave with students reading right. Then later they come and watch the CCTV. And if you have done anything wrong, as in inside the examination room, you just watch your own self doing the wrong thing and then you judge yourself on it. Thank you very much.
The next person, please.
There's more.
Okay.
Okay, so I believe WAEC will have to take up these questions. Maybe apart from one that concerning those who leave to private schools, register, and then they come back to the school. That is more of GES issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has been noted.
Would I take any of them?
Okay, so yeah, so
hello.
The issue of collusion. I want to assure him that we go by best practices, and we have things we look out for. When decisions are going to be taken as far as cancellation of or release of candidates' results, before that is done, that is after WAEC has established a collusion case. We just don't take that decision, but then we invite the candidates involved and we put the issues to them so they see it. So I want to assure him that before a decision is taken, either to cancel or to release results of candidates, due diligence is taken. We go through various processes to ensure that fairness has been achieved. The candidate is given a fair hearing to also present his or her case. So that assurance should be there. That assurance should be given to them to let them know that once they are not involved in that practice, then they have nothing to fear. That has to do with the collusion. And the other one, which has to do with the transfer of candidates from, I want to say something small about it, from government school to a private school. I want to say that this has to do with eligibility criterion, and WAEC is serious about it. I want to cast our minds back to, I think, about 2-3 months ago, before the examination, current 2024 examination was floated, the PRO, that is the Director of Public Affairs, had the occasion to inform all schools on the need to abide strictly by the eligibility criterion for the qualification of students to sit for WAEC. And among other things, he indicated that to qualify to write the exam, you must be a bona fide student of the school in which you are going to, in which you are writing the exam. And I want to assure him that steps have been put in place by WAEC to ensure that all such candidates who are not bona fide students of those schools are fished out. And as he indicated, that is the Director of Public Affairs, as he indicated, WAEC will go all in to ensure that it is not just the candidates who are fished out, but then the schools and the heads involved will also be reported to GES. So his concern has been very much noticed, and WAEC is working on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
all right. I would also want to comment on Mr. Kapo's question on the technicalities of we treating missing data. Because we didn't subject our data to advanced statistical analysis, there's a way we do treat missing data. But since ours were just descriptives, we just went by the majority. So that missing data issue has to do more with when we are dealing with advanced statistical analysis. All right. So if you want more explanation to it, you can come and see us in our offices, and then we can speak to that in detail. To your second question, we did go by the majority. We did use questionnaires in terms of open-ended as well as focus group discussions and interviews. So the majority, that is where we were able to develop our teams. So it's about the majority of our respondents attesting to that fact that WAEC should go CBT. And that was why it came as a major team in our findings. Thank you. And if you still want further explanations, you can still come and see us in our offices, and we can speak to that as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also want to look at the concern raised by the students about politicians involving themselves in examination malpractice. Yeah, I want to clear that wasn't the point that I made. Politicians, they are not taking the exam. Yeah, what I was saying is that they are also interested in seeing the schools in their communities passing. And that also fuel into the unnecessary competition that allow people in the schools to devise all means to write the exam. Yeah, so it is not the politician involvement in malpractice or the politician having power of any school head or school authority to be sanctioned, but they have interest to make sure that their schools are also performing, and that pressure also for the examination malpractice menace. That was the position that I was making. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much for. Okay, there is a hand raised. Please.
You wanted to?
Yes. So we will just move to those join us online. So if you want to ask a question, make a contribution, kindly click on the raise hand button, and then we would call you. Thank you very much. So we will call on Godwin Abuga to make his contribution or ask his question. Yeah.
The hand is up.
Yes. So if you can hear me, Godwin Abuga, please unmute and let us hear you.
I think there's a system that is showing that.
Okay.
It's not that. It's a system. We have a laptop. As I see the one who raised his hand.
So we are still waiting on those joining us online. If you have a contribution, a question, kindly click on the raise hand button and we will call you.
Just loan application.
Are there some contributions from those joining us? So if you
Yeah,
could
this is
reposition
Eric.
yourself.
Yeah, please, this is Eric.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sumiando,
please,
right?
yes, please.
Tell us where he is.
Please,
my,
can you
yes,
please tell us where you are speaking, which institution you are speaking from, or which institution you are from?
Please, I am from Western. I am speaking as a teacher.
Okay.
Please, my question is, there is during examination, most of the schools complains that WAEC has some specific schools in mind that they
Eric, if you could
have the
reposition
privilege of
yourself.
not getting invigilated. Hello. Yes, please, can you hear me?
Yeah. No, could you please come again with your question? All right.
Yeah, so my question is, most of the schools sometimes complains that for the past 3-4 years, they have never seen any external supervisor or invigilator at their schools. Whilst there are other schools, they always have external invigilators over there. So they complain that there are some schools in the mind of in WAEC's mind that they always want to supervise, but whilst others are free. What is the explanation? Is it that there's lack of supervisors, or there are some specific schools in mind that they always supervise?
All right, thank you very much, Eric Sumiando. Your question is well noted. Yes. Please, are there any questions and contributions for us? Yes, I see a hand being raised.
As a system.
Yeah, so if you've raised your hand, kindly unmute and ask your question or make your contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Dankwa and team, and all the members of the high table and participants. I am Mr. Abdullah, the OIC research in the Gambia. I've been following the presentation. I want to congratulate Mr. Dankwa. It was a well-researched paper and well-presented as well. And my observation will be, or my contribution or suggestion will be, the aspect of fully benefiting from the recommendations of these research findings in terms of implementation. So I think you have unearthed a kind of, it's a treasure. It's a treasure trove. If it is been taken care of in terms of looking at the recommendations, it will go in a long way in trying to effectively cope examination malpractice. So I will want to even suggest that the research section should try to invite the test administration division to look, because they are the ones that administer exams, to look at some of those points that are raised that can intervention can be made for where it is lacking, or provisions can be made for where it is lacking. So I think if the action points are followed through, this project will go a long way in helping WAEC to strengthen its implementation of the interventions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Aminte. Your point is noted.
Okay. We have about 2 more to go. So if there are other questions or contributions.
So those who ask the question have not unmuted. Have not down their hand.
Not lower their arms.
I don't think they have any.
We have exhausted.
Yes, so thank you very much, members, for those great questions and contributions. I do hope that all of us have had the import of the presentations, and in our own small way, we are going away with some of the recommendations made. Most importantly, if we listen to the presentation, they identified the teacher unions to be one of the great advocates who can help WAEC and GES by talking to their members not to involve themselves in any kind of examination malpractice. Because usually what happens is that once they are found to be culprits, you see the unions coming to stand in solidarity with. So this is an opportunity for us to prevent it from happening than to cure it. And so it is one of the greatest takeaway. The next on the agenda is supposed to be the chairman's closing remarks. And by way of closing remarks, there are one or two issues that I may like to talk on. One key issue that yes, and so as has been indicated, there are one or two issues that I may like to maybe clarify to clear all doubts in the minds of participants. But before I do that, we have the OIC, the Director Admin for WAEC headquarters, here with us. And we may have to hear him because he is the host. He is also hosting this particular engagement. So OIC, kindly talk to the panel. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the Registrar to Council, we wish to express appreciation to you all for honoring our invitation to this first research seminar being organized in Ghana for the year 2024. We know that by now we should have had more than one, but then it's better late than never. And the topic that we have brought on board today is something that goes to the core of our business. The issue of examination malpractice, which if we are not careful, will erode the confidence that the world has in the kind of certificates and examinations we conduct. And just like the lead discussant said, quoting at the beginning of his presentation, that if you want to destroy the world, these days we don't need intercontinental ballistic missiles. All you do is to use the soft skills, and it's through examination or practice. So the purpose of this research was to find out, put the focus on WAEC, and to find out what we are doing and how effective what we are doing has been by way of curbing this menace of malpractice. and we didn't want it to be an insider business where we are telling you and giving ourselves high marks. But we've gone outside to talk to stakeholders, and we have received their feedback, for which we have reported today. And therefore, we take what we do seriously by way of the research. So we will take it at the level of the Secretariat and discuss further the issues, observations, the findings, and recommendations. And you can rest assured that we will take the necessary steps to ensure that anything that we need to do to ensure that we beef up our own operations, we will do so. We have been thinking about our operations whenever we meet as a secretariat. We have a number of staff committees. In addition to that, whenever exams are conducted and we review our operations, we have, in fact, 2 papers which we consider. There is one that deals with program of action to prevent malpractice, leakage, and full knowledge, etc. And at the end of the exam, we do another review, how effective those interventions have been. So this is just to add to what we've been doing based upon scientific evidence. And therefore, we want to assure you that the suggestions you have also made, we will carry them along whenever we are doing our next review. Our next staff meeting that will discuss these issues is scheduled for August 2024. So this matter will come up. But we also want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for finding the time to preside over today's discussions. We know you are very busy, and we wish to say that forgive us for not staff meeting properly to come to this place, and therefore you missed your way and went to the national office, for which reason we had to start the program late. And then we want to assure you that we appreciate what you've done for us. The other comment I would want to make, but let me take it at the personal level, is the issue of the content of the syllabuses we have, the teaching syllabuses. Sometimes when you get into contact with students and you look at the volume of work they have to do to cover the syllabuses, and you look at the contact time they have, and then you find that if they are not able to cover the syllabus in school, they will have to attend extra classes to be able to catch up. And I recall sometime, is it 2012 thereabout, the same research department that is presenting the paper today did a research on the teaching of science at the primary school level, and they picked primary 4 to determine what goes on there. And in that paper, they compared what happens in Ghana to what happens in Japan. And they saw that in Ghana, primary 4, teaching science, they have to deal with 12 topics. In Japan, primary 4 science, they are dealing with 4 topics, 12 against 4. So it means that the Ghanaian student will have to learn many more things at that level to be able to progress to the next level. But for those in Japan, they said the focus of the syllabus was on acquiring the scientific traits, observations, recording, analysis, findings, and then being able to come up with recommendations, etc. So we also want to bring this up again to see if there is the need to review the syllabuses, possibly, so that that could also be a review. If they have syllabus that will expose them to what is required compared to what is being done at the international level elsewhere, and they can move to the next level and compete effectively with their counterparts there, then we will be doing a lot of good. Otherwise, if we find that our syllabuses are loaded, then it means that to be able to pass, then the candidates and parents and society are apprehensive, and therefore they want to find ways of cutting corners to make sure that their children pass the exams. So this is something that I believe we can even go back and revisit that and do further work on it to find out whether it is still relevant at 2024, since that research was done some years ago. So we will continue to do the research and continue to do the engagement to ensure that we always assist the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, and our governments to meet its goal and policies of giving education to the broad majority of its people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for that wonderful report from Director Admin, Mr. Brew. And I would like to once again thank all members for your patience and your great contributions to today's seminar. What I would like to assure all of us is that Mr. Brew's work, I'm happy, was done somewhere in 2012, but now the curriculum has been reviewed. At the primary school, we are talking about the standard-based curriculum. At the JHS, we are talking about the common core curriculum. At the SHS, we are talking about the LIT, the leaders in teaching. And the review were all done, having in mind the fact that we are now in the 4th industrial revolution. And in the 21st century, essential skills will be needed if the Ghanaian child is to get the opportunity to compete favorably with the rest of the world. And as a product of the review, I'm happy to also indicate that just about a month or so ago, Ghana competed at the world robotics level against over 400 senior high schools in the US, and Ghana came first. An indication that the Ghana Education Service, and for that matter, the ministry, is no longer relying on the objective-based curriculum. The Honorable Minister made a certain statement at UN, and then that statement, I believe, is driving most of our educational reforms. What he said was that he is yet to see somebody who has been able to memorize himself out of poverty. But he has seen so many people who have been able to innovate themselves out of poverty. So the essence of the new curriculum is to give the children that creative, innovative, all the 21st century skill in IT, robotics, and that is the more reason why even at the senior high school, as we speak, 33 of the senior high schools are having a new curriculum trial in other science-based areas. So the situation, as was in 2012, is no longer the situation today. So probably WAEC could help us by doing further study for us to see the effectiveness of that particular changes that have come. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to indicate that one of the key issues that borders directly between the schools and then the GES is this issue of performance contracts. The performance contract is just to support the schools to set target for themselves. If you have, and that one, the policy is not that the Director General is telling you attain 90%. You, the school, you look at your performance, then you set your own target. Maybe this year we had 30%. are you going to remain there or you are going to dip? Okay, if you had 30%, then okay, maybe I'm going to work to ensure that the following year I'm going to attain 35%, so that there will be progressive increase in performance. So those who were the respondents who were citing the performance contract as the reason why they cheat, I don't think it is GES has that particular thing in mind. And in any case, once the performance contract issue came in, the Ghana Education Service and the ministry also put in place measures to ensure that they are giving the needed support. And so, for example, now when you go to all the senior high schools, we've instituted what we call professional learning communities. That is now part of the curriculum. And in those engagements, teachers with challenges in some topics get the opportunity to interact with the more experienced ones so that they make the needed impact. And whenever they attend those sessions, they accrue some points to be able to renew their teacher licensure, certificates. On top of that, the government is giving the senior high schools money that he calls intervention money. So all these are programs that are expected to motivate the teachers in order to get time to do more intervention activities. And on top of that, every teacher every year is also given professional development allowance. These were things that were not there, but they are all part of new issues that are aimed at making sure that the performance will go up through the right means, not through any other means. Okay, so most of the high in performance that we see, the Ghana Education Services are aware that measures have been put in place. Just about 2 weeks ago, all HODs in Ghana, the whole country, then we gave them that engagement to come together and then look at the chief examiner's report and identify where the issues were. So they go back to the schools to engage the teachers, to draw the attention, just to prepare the children. So the Ghana Education Service and the ministry have put in place so many interventions to ensure that the children will pass, not through any other fraudulent means, but through their own efforts, once they are taking advantage of the many interventions and then support that have been put in place. So on that note, I would like to thank all of you very much for this very, very important engagement. I have learned a lot, and I've taken note of things that I'm going to report to my Director General. And then I've taken some of the key takeaways, which the GES management is going to work with. And it is my hope that all other participants, especially the students who had the privilege to be here, this particular engagement is meant to safeguard your own future. And so I was so happy when some of you were making some very rich contribution, including restricting internet access around the school. I was amazed. It was something that never crossed my mind. But sometimes, if you want to catch a thief, use a thief. Yeah. I'm speaking proverbially. Yeah. They are with them. And sometimes some of the solutions can actually come from them. So what that particular boy said actually sent a lot of thinking into my own mind. And I believe WAEC might even pick it up to do some feasibility study to see how that will be possible. And then according to him, somebody who is coming from, the source can help control the mobile phone. Because what the boy said was that without the internet, the mobile phone is nothing.
Yes.
So I believe he actually spoke something that had my attention. So I would like to, on that note, draw down the curtains and thank WAEC once again. All of us are open for further engagement of some of these, seminar to educate ourselves and then to pick issues that we can go out there and then work with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for such a wonderful remarks. As a research department, we do call on our participants, we do call on institutions at the secondary school level, at the tertiary level, to also tender in their papers. Just as Mr. Dankwa, who is the head of the Accra section of the research department, did, the opportunity will also be given to you as well to come here and also make a presentation so that all of us can learn from what you have presented, and as a nation, we can progress to a higher level in terms of our educational sector. Thank you very much. On that note, I'll call on Mrs. Ampoma to give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, for the opportunity. We thank the Almighty God for making this meeting a success. We also thank our Honorable Chairman, Mr. Prince Charles Sajimandria, for accepting to chair and competently steering the affairs of the program. God bless you. We also thank our presenter, that's the lead discussant, Mr. Kweku Dankwa. We also thank Mr. Ban, the Registrar to Council, WAEC Headquarters, Accra. Thank you so much, sir, for honoring the invitation. We thank Mr. Brew, Director, Administration, WAEC Headquarters. Sir, thank you so much. Then Mrs. Wendy Adi Lamte, HNO WAEC Accra. Madam, thank you very much. We also thank the head of division, section of WAEC, and staff of WAEC. We thank you all so much for the program. We also thank the headmasters of the invited schools, Accra Academy, Accra Wesley Girls, and other schools. We say, God bless you all. We also thank our teachers and students, the media as well, for joining us. And we also say thank you to everyone who made it today. God bless all of you for your time for the function. Thank you.
So shall we pray, please? All right. Our Lord and Master, we once again want to thank you for giving us a very successful program. Before we started the program, we committed it into your hands, and we ask that you take full control. By your grace, you brought us to this wonderful end. We have learned so much. Our prayer and hope is that whatever thing that we've learned here will be translated. We'll see its practical implementation. As we leave this place, we are not leaving your presence. We pray that you continue to be with us. Take us safely to our destination. And at the end of the day, we give all glory and honor to your mighty name. In Jesus' name we pray with all thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Okay, brother-in-law. You have a namesake here. He's also Prince Charles.
Oh, I was coming to look here. I see.
Well done.
This is Prince Charles.